Hey, fam. It is Tammy here. It has been a long time since I've seen you all, and I've had a lot of things go on. And part of that is taking time for myself. Summertime was something that um, I needed to just experience the sun and be there for the sun. And a lot of people who've touched base with me, they're they're missing out. And I've missed y'all too. A lot of things um, just happening, and I was living into my truth. And when I say that, I mean that I was taking time for myself as a caregiver should. Well, the other day on the computer, I think I got it was on a Friday. I had a little course and I was signing up in the very beginning when mom came down here. I was signing up for all kinds of courses, freebies, online things, even in person events. And it has paid off because I am still on their lists. And even if I feel like I want to take a break and not be there, I know that they are there for me. So I highly encourage you, if you are stepping or are in a caregiving role, to make sure you take time for yourself. Easier said than done, especially if you are doing it solo. So let's catch you up on a few things. Um, our air conditioning went out. That was fun when we were hitting those 3-digit numbers. And so it was um, one of those times where, like, I had to be here in the moment. I sent mom away to school because it was just too hot for her. But we had like 5 or 6 people come through to give us an estimate, and we are renters, we are not the owners, so it was easy breezy. I just had to be here. Well, be here I was. I probably should have put on a plastic bag and could have lost some weight, more weight. But it was an opportunity to be here, to go out for walks, but there was no kind of um, relief being in the house and in a two-story house. Hence, my next house will be one story. So the other day, I participated in a class. It was sort of like a dementia one-on-one, and it's always good to update and keep things fresh in your mind because the person that you are caring for are going to change just as we change, but we tend to see ourselves changing that way. Well, they are going the opposite way. And it can happen as quickly as a day, a week, a month, or it may take several years before you see the changes. And of course, I do need to say I am not a medical person. This is just me walking through and walking on this path, this journey to understand what's going on and how best to care for my mom. Good tip. I told you guys that uh, Dexcom 7, it is amazing. It took some getting used to, and for your loved one, you have to really feel that out because if they are very in that paranoia state, they will not want to have anything on them. They will pick it off. And we went through a couple of them in the beginning. Why the company does not, well, and I guess, everything's not for everybody. For me, I love it because it meant not having to prick my mother 2 and 3 and 4 up to 6 times a day, depending on her blood sugar and how her body was responding to it. So we got tons of the prickers, tons of the strips. And I do go back to it every once in a while because it is a gadget, it is technology, and sometimes it fails, as we saw with Spectrum, or not Spectrum, Microsoft, or whatever, a couple of weeks ago, almost a month ago. So, um, the Dexcom is working well because it gives you immediate feedback and data. You are able to respond quicker. And I love that because her A1C has gone down, and we hope that it continues to go down. Some people will get it and understand it, and be able to work with it. But when you have some memory loss, then you're dealing with something very different. So I'm just so excited to be back here with you all. The other thing I wanted to share with you is the tips. I have 11 tips, and I'll go through them, and then I'm going to share with you. I'm going to start because this is keeping me true to my word, and I apologize, but life was happening. Um, so, 11 tips for dealing with your loved one or the person with you are caring for. So, the first tip is have a routine. Have a routine for them. If you break that routine, they already are having a problem remembering things. And when you are not giving them some type of consistent sequence of events, that really throws them off. I mean, if you've ever been on an overnight flight and you have jet lag, multiply that times 100, is depending on where in the brain they are having the degeneration, and the centers of the brain of which it's affecting. But one of the things that is always is having a sequence for them. No matter where they are on that spectrum, sequence is good for everybody. When I was teaching, I used to tell my students, because they have these computers that they are now responsible for, once you finish your work at night, plug it up, put it in your book bag, but plug it up right by the door or by the closest thing, a path that you're going to pass every day. Pack your book bag so in the morning you have everything. You're not scrambling around looking for the charger and looking for if it has the pen or looking for all the pieces. Just keep it all together. So we as human beings like consistency and we like routines. Also helps you keep track of where your keys are. Just saying. So, a routine, be consistent with it, but be flexible, because you can't be so rigid that you're a taskmaster. But it really helps them maintain that consistency because they are forever, forever, forever changing. And one thing I really heard, I really liked it, is, and I'll share that a little later. Keep you on your toes. The second one is to assist them. Obviously, I mean, I know that seems so common sense, but give them some tasks to do. Now, mom can't cut anymore. She used to, when she first came down here, her vision was in a very different place. It has dwindled. And she could, when I was still working, I could leave vegetables out, and or leave her a note because she could read it. And I would say, could you cut up, some vegetables, peel the potatoes, peel the carrots, things like that? It made my life that much easier because when I came home, all I had to do was cut. She was just using the peeler, one of the tools, not using a knife. She liked doing that, and she wishes that she could do it now. Every once in a while she can help me with peeling carrots if she's using, something simple like that. That's a straight stroke. But and potatoes, some potatoes are larger potatoes, but if it's something small, I'm noticing the dexterity is not that keen, and so I usually prefer not to give her something that she could get hurt with. I mean, I know that seems like a no-brainer, but you have to, yield to the caution here. But they like to feel needed because they are realizing that something is not right with them as well, and that's traumatic for them. And depending on their level, quote unquote, in society, what it was that they did, that's so traumatizing for them, and it's frustrating for them. So this helps them still be able to take some ownership in the household, and they do like it. Of course, you have to figure out what those tasks are. Number two, um, lower our expectations. I know that sounds horrible because all of our lives, they're like, reach the bar, raise your expectations, make them work for it. Well, they are not able, they're not capable of doing that. So you're setting them up to fail. You're setting yourself up for frustrations and them with anxiety, and it could really take them over into a whole nother realm, a lot of agitation and the outbursts, things like that. So That is their new normal for them as well as for me. Um, Meaning you, the caregiver. You do your best, and that's all you can do. When I first started this, I wanted things to be a certain way. And just like when I started teaching, I wanted things to be a certain way. You figure out, okay, I'm going to put myself in the nut house if I keep trying to put this square peg in the triangle, not even the square, in the triangle hole. It's not going to work. So you have to readjust and repattern your expectations for a happier life and relationship with that loved one. And when you do that, I can definitely attest to it. When I have done that, it's easier, it's smoother, it's a happier environment. That means in the morning, for instance, we go swimming. Now, when I used to go by myself, I'm there. I'm leaving the house at something like a quarter of five, and it's just a very close way. And I could get there for 5 o'clock. While 5 o'clock would be a great goal, I tell myself if we leave the house about 5:30, I'm happy. Even 5:45. The fact is, we're still getting the exercise in, and that's what it's all about. It's not about being there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Some days, if we get up early and we're both feeling it, we can get out the house and be there for 5 o'clock. But when I lowered my expectations and allowed some room for some flexibility, I'm happier, she's happier. I mean, and we really, really enjoy it. Although we enjoy it once we get there anyway, it's just a matter of getting there. So that's something to really consider because she moves slower. I am not having to uh, get her dressed in the morning. She is still very independent, but there are some areas that she will ask me for assistance, i.e., her eyesight is going. So even with the lights in there, she will ask me, "What color is this? Do these match?" So it's very minimal, and I am very, very grateful and thankful that we're at that point and not totally dependent on me. This is a journey for me, like I said too, and I'm not quite ready for that. She can still bathe herself. She can, do all the ADLs. For personal hygiene. But as far as cooking and things, she's only allowed to hit two buttons on the microwave, the 1 minute and start. She has to use a toaster. If she chooses to use the toaster, no toaster oven. She needs something that can cut itself off uh, in a short amount of time. We've already experienced the other end of that spectrum. Number 4, prioritize safety and comfort. Of course, like I spoke to earlier, with her helping with preparing for meals, I had to lower the expectation in that sense and not have her with all these carrots. She's going to move slower. And even when she gives them back to me, I have to go over them because it's not the way that I would cook them straight away from there. And that's okay. It's my new normal. It is my new normal, and I'm okay with that. Um, Number 5, use the 4 R's, which is to reassure, reconsider, redirect, and relax. So reassure them that they are okay, that they are safe, that we're going to take care of them. We've got this, or you've got this, talking to them. Reconsider some things. A lot of times things aren't going the way that I like them, and I get frustrated. And every once in a while, I slip. My voice might be a little higher than I expected or would want it to be. But I'm a human being too, and I'm learning this just like anything else. I am not perfect, nor do I ever profess to be perfect. I strive to do a better job each time, but, and I'll share an event with y'all that really made me get back on here because it just hurt my heart. Redirect. So if they are having an issue, a lot of times do a redirection. They're frustrated with something. Here, let's try something else. Let's, keeping something in your back pocket, as they say. And again, this depends on their level of functioning. Everybody is at a different level, and you have to figure that out. You have to create your new normal in your household. And it keeps moving, it's going to change. Um, and relax. Find something that's really soothing. Music is key. So you tap into that type or that era of music that they really like, put it on, see what they like. If they are capable, ask them, what do they like? Put it on, dance with them. Dancing, they're getting some activity in it. Doesn't have to be anything super. Just sway if you need to just sway. Tap, tap out, the beats or something like that. So just again, creating a new normal for that person because here's the statement that I want to share with you. They can't live in our world anymore. Some of them. They are not living in our fast paced, high stressed world anymore. They are in their own world, and we have to join them in their world. That was powerful to me. And that came from another caregiver. Um, the presenter was sharing. She said, I learned so much just as when I was in the front of the classroom. I used to tell my students all the time, I learn more from you guys probably than you know. And I appreciate the lessons that I learned from you. I use them to help myself grow. So let me repeat that. Our people who we are caring for and we love deeply, they cannot live in our world anymore. They are in a different world. They're in their own world. And again, that's going to be very different because this disease cannot just be pigeonholed. It is a ever changing um, situation. Yes, you can read up on it and you can see some generalities of what's happening and some characteristics of different things, but that is not pinpoint. It's going to be different. They can have the same diagnosis, and your loved one is going to be very different than my loved one. So we have to remember that when we go in and we're sitting and listening to the doctors. Sometimes the doctors do forget that. This is from the counselors in my support group and things where you're getting this information, or some nurses who they do that explicitly, working with the seniors and working with seniors or people with dementia or on that spectrum. Um, it's interesting because in our support group, it's a revolving door. And while I'm not disclosing anything, it's just when new people come in, you can see that angst and that question mark in the bubble up above their head because you have no idea. You don't know how to deal with this whole situation that has rocked your world and turned it upside down. And um, ex- especially for me, walking away from teaching, which I adore. I love teaching, and today is the first day back to school for the county that I'm in down here in North Carolina, and it's sort of bittersweet. Um, but this is what I signed up for. And this is what I am going to do my very best at. So, um, I want to share an incident that happened that I am not proud of, but I want to share it because that's how we grow. And I learned a lot from that situation. So, a friend of mine, a couple of friends, we decided we were going to go out for dessert. It was on Sunday. She had a birthday. And so, rather than do the whole party thing and everything, we just were going to get together and have dessert rather than a whole meal. And so Sunday, mom came home, and I'll share another piece of Sunday, which really made me uh, as agitated as I was with that. And typically, that is not me. I am happy go lucky, jokey, or whatever. Well, I was trying to, let me just insert this here. I was irritated with Humana. I'm going to say that. I can say that. It's my right to say that. Because before she went to Humana way back when open season October, right? I asked about the formulary, and the formulary tells you what prescriptions they are going to take in, which all of the healthcare system, sorry people who out there, but still, it sucks. It is not healthcare system. It is a health maintenance, right? It's the industrial complex for maintenance of people's diseases because they are not, for the most part, helping people. Yes, these are my own. I'm saying it again. It's my own perceptions, my own observations, and I have a right to say what I am saying because I've experienced it. And so we're ready to move, right? Send in all your medications. Okay, you guys got auto ship. Yes, this is our group for auto ship. Yeah, 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 yeah. We get everything set up and I'm waiting. So January rolls around and we're waiting. We're waiting. The only thing that came through was her Dexcom 7 because the lady tried to submit it. She's like, it's not going through. I'm like, well, we technically until January 1st, we're not like a Humana user, subscriber, whatever. I'm waiting and waiting. Her prescriptions aren't coming. We're running out of stuff. So I'm having to reach back out to the doctors. Can you call this prescription in? I'm like, what is going on? Well, then, I call, and yes, whoever out there, yes, I call and say I'm her because it's a pain in the butt. Y'all say this call is recorded and we're writing stuff down, but somehow you don't go back and look at the notes from the previous call. We're dealing with a person with dementia. They can't call in. They can't go online and do the work that you're telling them to do. Go log in and do this, do that. I am having a time doing it, but I digress from my story. So I call the big box pharmacy. Oh, we don't have any in stock. Well, could you check for me another big box pharmacy to see if perhaps they have it? So I could sort of save some energy running around like a chicken with my head cut off? Oh, yes, this place has 10 of them in stock. Now, she did give me the number, and I can't even remember if I called them or not, but I just assumed that they would have it since she said in stock 10. That means to me, you have them. What? What? In what? Come on, everybody. Stock. So I drop mom off at church. I go run, take this little trip. We don't have them. Okay, so did y'all just sell 9 of them, 10 of them? Like overnight? I had the other pharmacy call and they said that you guys have them here in stock. So that's sort of kind of why I'm here. And by the way, do you have this one too? Oh no, we don't have that one in it. So she gives me like 2 other ones and I'm like, okay, what you say? If you do it several times, you keep getting the same results. That's insanity. You keep doing the same things, thinking you're going to get different results. Well, I figured that one out. And gas is not 79 cents like I first started driving. So no, I'm not going to go drive around. So that took me back to the auto ship with Humana. I go online. I finally, get everything together and I go online and they got all the prescriptions there. Huh. Well, why isn't that little button that says on and off or active and whatever, activate, why isn't it on? When we went through this in before this, we even started officially with you guys. I'm not really understanding how this thing works. Your message when you call in says go online and sign up and send your stuff in. Yes, I'm getting all frustrated all over again. I'm finishing the story. Just stick with me. So I decide, screw this. I'm not going to keep running around for y'all to tell me this one got it, this one got it, and then I get there and nobody got it. So screw you. Which, by the way, information alert, Did you know that the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, I think he's Dallas Cowboys and Mavericks, whatever, Mark Cuban, he has a pharmacy online. Y'all go check it out. I looked up a prescription and I had gone to the doctor, taking care of me, and she is the one that told me about it. I was like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, give it a check. Check it out." I went online, and for this prescription, it was $13. So I didn't know any difference. I went and I said, "Let me just go run through the drive-through at the big box store and check out how much this sucker costs." I had the script. I went through this drive-through, and that lady, I could have jumped through that window. She said, "Oh, it's $97." I said, "What's the volume? Like, is that a 90-day supply?" She said, "Oh no, that's 90 was $97 for a tube or something, or for that prescription." It was $13 and something 27 cents on Mark Cuban's pharmacy. Now, you have to go on and you log in and you find what it is you want. And then it says, who's your provider? And you send it to them. I made a hard copy. You could have emailed them the page, but I made a hard copy. I took it to the doctor and I came back. Well, they do something because they have to go in and do something. You get an email saying, hey, Dr. Such and such has authorize you to receive such and such and such, and then it takes you through the rest of the system. You pay, boom, bada bing, bada bang. $13, y'all, versus almost 100 plus the gas to go to the pharmacist or to the pharmacy. Sorry, they are raping us. That's scam. That's scamming you. So anyway, let me go back to it. So I was running around trying to get the stuff. I got back to pick mom up from church in time. So we get home and I'm like, okay, mom, do you want something to eat? Because she had a little something, something before she went to breakfast. Now, she ate a donut. They always have donuts. And she usually comes right out. Well, she was in there trying to shove the donut in her mouth, which is sort of funny because I walked in, I snuck in, and I just sort of bumped her from the back. And she's like, uh-oh. Yeah, you busted, lady. So she's eating a donut. So we get home, we get that taken care of, get her insulin crap taken care of. So I sit down to do some reading. It was nice. So I went and sat out on the back and everything. I said, do you want something to eat? I'm just going to read for about 20 minutes or so, and then I'll come in and fix you something. Well, I came in, got a little too hot. So I came inside and I hear this scrambling around in the kitchen. Ma, what are you doing? I'm just going to get something to eat. And the way in which she said it, I knew, whoop, put the book down, get up, deal with that. Right? I got to live in her world. But she didn't remember that she had just told me when I asked her, did you want something to eat? No, I'm not really hungry. All of a sudden, she was hungry. Now, she had the donut. Granted, that's not like this big nutritious meal. Then I gave her some papaya because it was a papaya I had was cutting. Ooh, it was delicious, y'all. Some papaya, and that's a good low glycemic food for them. And then all of a sudden, she's ready to eat. So she's in there. I'm going to make some toast because that's something she can do. I said, Mom, I'll get it. I told you I get it. Well, we're going back and forth. This banter is going back and forth. And so it just starts to escalate. I was pissed because of the whole medicine thing running around and they don't have it. And you see how you can transfer that onto somebody else. And I realized that was happening, but it was sort of midstream because she went into this banter of, I am sorry. I don't want to be a nuisance. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to bother you. That was hard because I'm frustrated. And yes, I raised my voice. I'm not happy to say that, but I did because I'm human. but I was apologetic. And when her tears started to fall because she felt in that moment that I was angry with her, that just ripped my heart out. And you all know that quiver in the voice you get, not from my mama. That is like, made me feel like the scum of the earth. That I was less than because she thought in that moment that she was being a burden. And so I, I fell for the okey doke, y'all. I know our feelings aren't supposed to be on our sleeves, but they were in that moment because I made my mother cry. And that was not my intention at all. I need to live in her world because her world is no longer my world. So that was Sunday. So this morning, when I went to get her for swimming, I asked her how she slept, how things were. She's like, fine. And I reassured her, 4 R's, that I am here for her. I had a bad day, but we can make it better today. So we had fun in the pool. We play in the pool. And that was that. But she said, Tam, actually, I think she thought of this last night. She said, because we call her the badger because she can find anything. Yes, she can't see. Her hearing is going, gone. Speaking of which, I gotta go buy some more stuff to get the wax out, whatever. Um, but she said, "Can you find a space in the refrigerator?" This is where she goes in and out. That is where I should go for my stuff. So I'm not having to look through because she'll find anything. We have to hide stuff in the refrigerator. And so I showed her this morning before she left. I said, "This bottom basket, let me clean it out for you and I'll put what it is." And I named it. I verbally said what it was because her vision, like I said, is not the best. So I verbally told her what it was that I was putting down there for her. That is what she needs to eat so that her blood sugar will not be sky high because we got the whole wave going and I really want to see it more moderate, at any rate, or more stable. So, biggest lesson I learned yesterday or on Friday was I have to live in her world. Okay. Uh, 3 principles of time: take time, one thing at a time, and timely praise. So I think I sort of experienced all of that on Sunday. I went through this whole list. I was like, thank goodness I heard that just to put it on the forefront of my mind. Did I follow it to the T? No. But did I learn from it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Just taking time. We sat out on the patio just to sit out together till it got too hot. Um, the ACE method, and this is something that the presenter said she got also from a caregiver. The ACE method is: don't argue. I blew that. Don't correct them. And don't explain anything to them because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to understand it. Make up something. On the correcting, they're going to do it the way. So when mom was feeling the way that she was feeling, "Mom, I'm really sorry you feel that way. That is not what I meant. Leave it alone." But I was already half cocked because of the situation with the pharmacy. And I had no business to transfer that over into what was going on because it just made a huge mess. And I realized that. And this isn't just in caregiving, y'all, this is in life. Number 8, it's not them, it's the disease. That situation would have never happened if this label or whatever is on there. We're working on that. Just because the medical establishment says that you can't does not mean that you can. Our will is, it overrides the medical establishment. Isn't that what miracles are? Isn't that what we work hard to do? There have been multiple opportunities and situations when the doctor says that you could not, you'll never walk, you got 6 months to live, and we are outliving what they state. So do not believe the hype. Do not believe the hype. You raise your vibration to a higher healing vibration and you show them who is in control. Um, so it's not them, it's the disease. They talk about using tech and aids to help them, which they said that there is a remote control. I need to get that. They said get it on Amazon. That is just simple buttons. It's not all that, I can't even work a regular remote control and hooking up TVs and stuff, but they say there is a remote control. And I'm going to go through the Alzheimer's Association and see if they have something or can make some recommendations. Hence, the TV that we moved up because her TV was too small, so we had to move the big one, sort of like it's not that big. Where is it at? It's not that big, but a much larger screen than what she had. Moved it upstairs to her room so she could see it. Well, somehow the remote control went out. We changed the batteries, checked the little the little coils and everything, make sure there was no rust and whatever. But for whatever reason, it's not working. I was going to go over to Best Buy and see if I could get a universal generic one. But then when they said they have these remotes that are specially made for people with memory issues, and it's just like an on off volume channel button, it's not all those extra this, that, and the other buttons. So I need to check into that. So that's something you may use too. And then if you go on the Alzheimer's site, they have a section that is all for gadgets and gadgets. And I mean, you can do a search now. You can find anything on the internet that you might need. And it's never too early to get help. If you got a trusted friend that you know and trust and that they it likes your loved one, ask them, hey, can you come over for just like an hour? I just need a break. I just need to take a walk. Now I can do that because mom is still very independent. There are so many people that are not. They need someone there 24/7 to be there with them. And I am grateful that I'm not at that spot. My heart goes out to them. Um, and I wonder, how will I manage? But I will. You are, if that's where you are. You're doing the best you can with where you are, with what you have. And find ways to take care of yourself. So that sometimes is easy, that sometimes is difficult. Sunday afternoon, we walked around um, the complex we're in, me and mom, and a friend who just adores my mom here walked around with us and we talked. And I think that's probably, she was pissed that I made her go out and walk. That's probably why she was so upset. And you have to look for the humor in everything. I wasn't feeling happy in that moment. It ripped my heart. But in retrospect, we laugh about it and joke about it when we were at the Y this morning. She did something, and I'm usually always holding her hand to guide her, just to support her, even though she has a cane on the other side. And I let go of her hand. She said something and I left her. And she said, "Oh, you gonna leave me now?" So you always have to find the humor in everything, um, just to make it through. Because I tell you what, y'all, this is not easy. This is not easy. I wanted to share that with you. So those are the tips. And thank you for listening. And then the other one was the book I got in my support group, the Dementia Care Partners Workbook. I think I shared that with y'all before. And it's written by Dr. Edward G. Shaw. He is here in North Carolina. But there are, of course, for the brain, it's an educational piece because I'm a teacher, whatever. The brain lobes and how they function. So you have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the cerebellum, okay, that little part in the very, very back at the top of the brain stem. And then the side, you have the temporal lobes. So each side of the brain has the same four lobes. The brain lobes are deeply connected to one another on the same side of the brain as well as across sides. Okay. The cells inside the brain are called neurons. Um, and you have billions upon billions of them. In addition, individual neurons are connected to 1,000 to 10,000 other neurons. Therefore, there are trillions and trillions, I love his word verbiage, of neuronal connections in the brain. Okay? An old myth says that you only use 10% of your brain at any time, and yet just the opposite is true. You use more than 90% of your brain 90% of the time, whether you're awake or asleep. In other words, the human brain is always on. Okay, so in the frontal lobes right here on the top, they're on each side because you have the chasm in the middle, uh, colossum. I think that's called the colossum. The frontal lobes, which are located just behind the forehead, are the largest of your brain lobes, making up 40% of the brain's volume. These are a list of things that the frontal lobes do. They are where your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors originate. Okay? What you say and what you do. They determine your personality. With the temporal lobes, play a role in determining your mood. If you're mad, happy, sad, anxious, including your ability to be emotionally expressive and have sympathy and empathy for others. One thing that you'll notice, depending on where, but a lot of times, if there's either had a stroke, people had a stroke, or if that is the part of their brain where the dementia is really just degrading the brain with all the plaques, they become numb. They don't get jokes. They are just like eyes on, but nobody's home. So, and I say this because we're running into it more and more where you're out and about and you might try to strike up a conversation with someone and they're looking at you like looking through you. They probably got some mental things going on. Um, this is where your morals and values are instilled because that whole behaviors and thoughts and emotions. Um, help you be social and desire relationships. So, a lot of times, if you have a family member, they sort of become a recluse because they can't follow the conversations. And, like in my mom's case, she can't really hear if she had a hearing aids on or if they're not adjusted, which I need to call them. Um, they can't follow all the different conversations that are going on. So, they would rather be somewhere by themselves. It's too much noise going on around them. Provide insight and judgment, including helping you understand risks, benefits, and consequences of the choices you make. That's gone for some people. So that's why mom can't, she's not at that point, but that's one reason I don't have her in the kitchen cooking. Yeah, they can't be cooking and they forget what they're doing. The pot's on, they walk away, go to sleep. We got an issue in the kitchen. Are responsible for planning, problem solving, and multitasking. Like I said, they can't do that. It's too much. Help you pay attention and concentrate. Also involved with orientation to the day, the date, the month, and the year. That is one reason why when they go into the doctor and they're getting the testing, the MOCA test or whatever, they are asked, "Do you know what today is? What is the date? Who's the president? What year is it?" They're trying to see what's going on in the brain. Along with the temporal lobes, um, they are responsible for expressive language. Again, we see that diminished. They don't have a lot of words because that part, those connections are degrading and there's no more connections and electricity going through and to another one. So there's nothing happening. It's just sort of stuck up there. And the ability to say what you want to say. Some people have, and it depends on what part, even in the frontal lobes, if they can speak, like they can hear you, but they can't process it and give you something, a response back. And that is the hardest thing because you're by yourself. You can't communicate with them. They can't figure out how to work a phone. So, someone has to be with them all the time. Um, it's where your voluntary movements, okay, of your arms and your bodies are controlled. Last Tuesday, mom and I went to this really cool uh, exercise class, and it's put on by a professor from Wake Forest University, in like the dance lab and movement lab. And it was really simple, but like I broke a sweat. But like your it's chair, like chair aerobics, but they do get up and sort of dance around the chair. They're holding on to the chair. And it's your preference depending on what you do. So that was a lot of fun. And it's called improvement. Um Actually it's improvement because it's IMPROV and then MENT. So like movement, but it's like improv. So the teacher says, "Okay, act like you're playing the piano," and then you're going to wave your right hand. Okay, stump your left foot. So like they're really having to think through and process that. Um, those instructions. Can everybody do it? No. But are they up and moving around and using the cues from what everybody else is doing around them to make changes? Yes. That's your socialization, that's their movement, that's them trying to process and get something through. So, and they're listening and playing music of their age genre music that they would listen to. So they're having a good time even if they're dancing in their own little world. It's okay. It's actually really beautiful. Um, and then they play a role in your balance when walking. So if anyone, if you've known anyone with any kind of a frontal brain injury, they might stagger and look like they're drunk or high or something because that is where your balance points are when you think about it in your head. Okay. And keeping your bladder and bowel sphincters closed. A lot of times, I was talking with a man in the pool, and he said he's caregiving for his brother-in-law or whatever. He said, "I would love to bring him to the pool, but he hasn't mastered, you know, that sphincter thing. Not that he's mastered, but he's lost that ability because of probably where the damage is in his brain, in the frontal lobe. And so he poops all the time. So he can't come in the pool. I don't want to be in the pool with him." So they have some issues. They all have issues. We all have issues. Some of us are just in the more tolerable space. But I wanted to share that about the frontal lobe. And then what I'll do is today is Monday. Perhaps next Monday, I'm putting this on my calendar. Next Monday, we'll talk about the temporal lobes, and then we'll go on to the parietal lobes and the occipital lobes to talk about that executive function. Because, even though we think we have it down, it's a new day. Um, and some days you just want to cry. Some days you are okay, but know that it is the disease and not you. So you have to find your new normal, live in their world because they cannot live in our world anymore. And we just do the best that we can every single day to comfort them, to love on them, and to let them know that they are okay. They're safe. So I hope this was helpful. I know it was helpful to me to just share with you and to get some things out. So, oh, and I stayed under an hour. Okay, love you all. I hope this helps. Please send me some input and comments because that definitely does help. Have a great week, everybody. Peace.